All right, friends, it's Team Mun. We're back with a brand new video. In this video, I'm going to react to this guy's channel called BP Fitness. I once posted him in my community section. He has some interesting stuff, and I just found this video interesting that I don't know, I want to comment to. Yeah, I want to react to. So I'm going to react to BP Fitness. BP Fitness says, why bulking is a Gymcel cope over for bulk cells. I would agree that bulking is Gymcel cope because muscles are post-mitotic. That's why they're bulking. They think that bulking is going to build muscle, and you can't build muscle because muscle's post-mitotic, bro. Get it? Yeah. Now, can you build contractile proteins? Yeah, you can build these contractile proteins up, but let's listen to the video.
So let's talk about why you do not need to bulk in order to build muscle in a central physique. And the bottom line
I'd like to know, why don't you have to bulk to build muscle? Yes.
is this, right? If you are progressing in a lift, which you are neurologically adapted to, which basically just means you've been doing it for a few weeks, and the strength gains aren't from neurological adaptations, then you...
That's wrong. The strength gains are from neurological adaptations all the time. They're the first thing that come on. Your recruiting motor units and androgen receptors are widening, and then they're able to exude maximal force production. PubMed, myocytic androgen receptor, controls the strength, but not the mass of the limb muscles. So there you go.
You are gaining contractile proteins and building muscle. Even if
you are gaining contractile proteins and building muscle, not if protein synthesis does not exceed protein breakdown.
You are in a deficit.
Right out of AI, PubMed AI. Protein synthesis must exceed protein breakdown for muscle growth. Otherwise, muscle mass will remain the same or it will decrease. See, here's the thing. It'll either remain the same or it'll even decrease. The balance is achieved through processes like resistance training, and sufficient protein intake, which stimulate protein synthesis. While also triggering, he forgot, protein breakdown. It triggers protein breakdown. So the breakdown now is going even faster. Remember, proteins are building up and breaking down all day long, but they're now breaking down even faster. To achieve a positive net balance for muscle gain, synthesis must be greater than breakdown, especially during the post-exercise recovery period. Post-exercise recovery period. Get it? Especially. So he's wrong.
Even if you're losing body weight or body fat, it means you're building muscle because, there's...
No, you're not. Well, let's see. You're building contractile proteins. You're building them up. And you're losing fat. Well, if you're just eating animal products, that's a possibility. But if you're eating, carbs, donuts, and things, you may get fat at the same time. So, yeah.
There's no other way for you to be getting stronger unless you are gaining contractile proteins.
There's no other way for you to get any stronger unless you're gaining contractile proteins. Well, the myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength, but not the mass of the limb muscle. So how do steroid people get stronger without building muscle? They inject steroids, right? And they bind with what? The myocytic androgen receptor, which controls the strength for maximal force production. Now, you're recruiting motor units. So does that give you strength? If your muscle, if you get a stronger, but you didn't get a bigger, you got a stronger, but you didn't get a bigger. Well, does that have anything to do with contractile proteins? No. So he's wrong there again, too.
Assuming you are neurologically adapted to the lifts. So, let's go over a few points.
You're becoming better at lifting those lifts. That's the neurological part, making you better at doing that. That's like a skateboarder. Are you good at skateboarding? No, you have to practice at skateboarding to be good at it. So how do you get good at lifting weights? You practice at it. That's how. Duh.
Firstly, what does it mean to eat at maintenance, right? Because the common...
That's a good question. What does it mean to eat at maintenance? So maintenance would be equilibrium, right? But the surplus in protein is used for repair and growth. So you need to be in what? Positive nitrogen balance, so that you have a surplus of protein, because proteins are building up and breaking down all the time. But you need a surplus to repair and grow. And we'll talk about remodeling later. Why muscles are remodeled, because they're being injured. You're injuring muscle fibers.
argument against main gaining or just not bulking is that you have to eat in a calorie surplus to gain weight, right? Because
Okay, he says you have to eat at a calorie surplus to gain weight. But what do you need to do to gain muscle? Protein synthesis needs to exceed muscle protein breakdown. It has to outpace it.
if you're going to go from 160 pounds to 180 pounds and you're going to eat at maintenance, then that's impossible, right? Because you need that extra energy to increase your body weight. And the answer is
So he's talking about increasing body weight, and I'm talking about increasing muscle. Okay, contractile proteins, all right.
this, right? Eating at maintenance basically just means eating the same calories as your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure.
Yeah, but there's no such thing as calories, man. You can't measure that. There's no such thing as calories. It's just a made up word, man. Really, and anyways, diets just means behavior. It's just a behavior diet.
And your total daily energy expenditure includes exercise activity thermogenesis, which basically just means the calories you burn from exercise. And it also
No, he's including everything as a calorie. So he's saying that meat products and then the slave food diet, the safe, pleasant food diet, as humans are carnivore animals. So he's trying to classify the slave food diet that humans are eating, which is based on marketing, it's artificial, that food actually domesticates you. And then there's the meat part, people are cooking it, whatever. So that's based on nutrients, a high nutrient diet. It's a known fact in science. They take petri dishes, they put bacteria in there. All the bacteria, your bacteria cells, they all gravitate towards nutrients and they run away from the peasant slave food diets. It's a known fact.
also includes your basal metabolic rate, which includes the calories you need for protein synthesis, right? So
the calories you need for protein synthesis, you don't need calories. You need protein. Protein needs to outpace protein breakdown to see that mass on that myofibula. Otherwise, forget it.
basically the calories you need for protein synthesis, the energy you need to take the proteins that you eat and build it into muscle, right? Synthesize it into muscle. The calories needed for that.
Yeah, you need to be in positive nitrogen balance. You need to be taking in more nitrogen that is being excreted. Yeah.
Are included in your basal metabolic rate, which are included in your total daily energy expenditure. So, basically when you train in the gym, right, giving your
Look, man, you just want to be in an anabolic growth state. So before you work out, you want to eat protein so you're anabolic. Then you work out, and then after your workout, again, you consume a lot of protein so that you outpace protein breakdown. That's basically it. And you'll know when you reach satiety because ghrelin leptin is going to kick in. You won't be able to swallow any more protein, and then you'll know you're in positive nitrogen balance. Ghrelin will kick in, that's it.
yourself a stimulus to grow through mechanical tension. And through that stimulus, and you're also consuming protein, you're using that protein.
What stimulus? To build contractile proteins, that training is based on exercise-induced muscle damage training. Then there's people that train in the gym. It's sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. You have two types of hypertrophy, myofibular and sarcoplasmic. So which one are you talking about?
To build muscle, and the energy needed to take that.
Again, you can't build muscle. Muscle is post-mitotic. You can't just stimulate. You can't just lift weights and expect that muscle cells are going to split and divide. They do not split and divide. They're post-mitotic. You have to do something very specific to damage muscle fibers to build these contractile proteins. What do you have to do? Well, the formula is extreme, unaccustomed, unfamiliar, and untrained muscles and eccentric exercise. And eccentric exercise goes with those all four of those. And every exercise has eccentric in it, but some eccentric is more than others. So you have concentric, which has eccentric. You have full range of motion, has eccentric, and then you have eccentric exercise that is mostly eccentric, but still has some concentric.
Protein and synthesize it into muscle is included in your basal metabolic rate, which is included in your total daily energy expenditure. So, which means that if you're eating at maintenance and eating your total daily energy expenditure, that includes the calories that are needed for protein synthesis.
Again, you don't need calories for protein synthesis. You need protein for protein synthesis. Exactly what it says. Protein is synthesizing what? Protein. So protein needs to what? Outpace protein breakdown. You don't need any calories.
Right, so that's how you can build muscle, right, and gain body weight.
Not necessarily. You can literally just eat, you could be anabolic and eat a ton of protein. That doesn't mean you're building muscle because muscle is post-mitotic. Unless that muscle has been injured, unless there's any micro injuries to that muscle fiber, it ain't growing, man. And you don't see growth happen that fast when it comes to building these sarcomeres in parallel in series, the contractile proteins. You don't see that growth. It doesn't happen that quickly. You see it usually in the third month when you start out doing that type of exercise-induced muscle damage training, EIMD training. And that training can only happen periodically, cannot happen consistently. Consistent is like marathon runners. You're an endurance athlete. Now in the gym, what's that going to be? Sarcoplasmic. You're going to increase what? You're going to eat glycogen, you're going to eat carbohydrates, and you're going to expand the sarcoplasm.
From eating at maintenance, right? Because maintenance, like people say maintenance means to eat at the calories needed to maintain your body weight. And that is like a simplified simplified definition of eating at maintenance calories. But eating at maintenance calories actually just means eating your total daily energy expenditure, which again includes your basal metabolic rate, which includes the energy needed for protein synthesis. And so that's how
the energy needed for protein synthesis. Well, people tend to eat complex carbohydrates they say will spare that protein in your body to build that muscle. But you don't need to spare anything if you're eating protein. You don't need to spare anything. And it can interfere with building muscle. It could interfere, but then it would make it much more harder, but you'd still build muscle, but it would make it harder.
you can, build muscle whilst eating at maintenance. And what I want you to do.
You cannot build muscle at maintenance if you're in equilibrium in maintenance. You can only build muscle when there is a reserve amount of protein, when protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown. That reserve is used to build muscle. If you do not have a reserve, it will not build muscle. So he's making this up. Look, man, I'm just basing all of this on fact. I am not using my opinion whatsoever. This is not based on my opinion.
Was instead of tracking the metrics like gaining 1 pound a week of body weight, actually track your performance gained in the specific exercises. Because
but you don't know if that 1 pound you gained a week, is it all contractile? Is it sarcoplasmic? How do you know exactly? How do you measure that? Well, you have to use an I think it's ultra, I put it in my community center. I forget what it's called, ultrasound. It's not DEXA scan. DEXA scan cannot distinguish between contractile and sarcoplasmic hypertrophy or muscles. You have to use a specific thing, which is actually a lot cheaper, but the fitness industry doesn't tell you about it because they don't want you to know that you're not building muscle.
here's the thing with, gaining 1 pound a week or 0.5 kilos a week. You can literally gain 1 pound a week from doing nothing. You can literally just sit at home, eat goy slop, and still gain 1 pound a week of body weight.
Yeah, you could get fat eating this slave food peasant diet, sure.
1 pound a week of body weight, right? That's not really the metric you should be tracking. That doesn't actually say anything specifically about how much muscle you are actually building. The metric that you should...
I don't know. It depends. If you gain 20 pounds of fat on your body, right? Now that 20 pounds is weighing down on your body, your frame, your muscle and your bone. The planet has gravity. Will your muscle expand to accommodate, to carry that extra 20 pounds? Well, something's going to have to give, right? But it was that built because you exercised in the gym or did something? No.
Should be tracking is, again, the actual progressions in the lift. Because let's say, right, you're doing a just random exercise. Let's say you're doing a preacher curl, right? Preacher curl. And for the first few weeks, right, let's just take a cooler. The first few weeks of doing that preacher curl, because it's the first time doing preacher curl, right, you gain strength pretty quickly, right, like that. Because again, right, you're making these neurological adaptations on your preacher curl. But after a certain point, your progression is going to slow down because you basically made most of your neurological adaptations, or the gains from your CNS. So your gains start to slow down. And from that...
If it slows down, then how are people able to get more of them if it slows down so quickly? At what level does it really slow down? Depends.
Point on, the strength gains you get from this preacher curl basically come from you gaining additional muscle, right? Contractile proteins.
It is it? Then how come everybody's complaining about they reached their newbie gain limit, genetic limit, and they're hard gainers, dude? Why is that? If it's coming from these contractile proteins, if it actually is coming from there, the extra strength, you say it's slowed down, so it shouldn't slow down then if it's coming from the contractile proteins. If it is so easy to build contractile proteins, why isn't anybody getting big? It's not so easy to build contractile proteins. You have to micro injure the muscle fibers. Then they go through a repair, a growth, and a remodeling. That has to go through over a week period. I don't know what you're talking about. You haven't even explained that yet. You just make it sound as if it's so easy.
In your biceps, which means that when you get stronger, every time you progressively overload and get stronger and improve your performance at that preacher curl.
Oh, if you get bigger in exercise-induced muscle damage, if you get bigger, you get stronger. He says you get stronger, and then, I don't know, I think he's thinking you get bigger.
That means you are building muscle in your biceps, right?
No, that's absolutely wrong. If you're getting stronger, right, you can't get bigger. You get bigger, and then you get stronger. That's why bodybuilding is not a sport. It can't be a sport. It compromises sport of performance. If you come in the gym and you damage your muscle fibers, you get weaker. You're weak the entire week. You have DOMs for 4 days. You're going through a repair and a remodeling. You're weak. It's impossible. You get weaker to get stronger. You must get weaker to get stronger. You don't get stronger and then you get bigger. You get bigger and then you get stronger when you come back.
It's a way better metric than just gaining 1 pound a week of body weight. Just every session, right? You should be aiming to progress every session.
Nobody is. That's why they want to take steroids. Nobody is.
Every exercise, because that's completely unrealistic, but at least one exercise every session, right? Especially if you're doing something like a
Can you prove it?
low volume full body split, whether that's full body 3 times a week or full body
Why don't you show us? Prove it.
every other day. You should be tracking your progression in the exercises instead of just gaining an arbitrary number of body weight every week. And also, the way I want you to look at this is, let's say you were to gain 5 kilograms of muscles in 1 year, right? After the first few years,
5 kilograms of muscles in 1 year. That's what kind of muscle? Contractile proteins? Okay. Yeah, that's very minimal. In other words, look, dude, in order for you to build muscle, you need to be in an anabolic growth state for a long period. It needs to be for a long period of time. It needs to be consistently anabolic. You need to be in a positive nitrogen balance consistently all that time to build muscle. You can't be up and down, here and there, whatever. It will not work. It will not work.
of training, that's actually a pretty substantial amount. 5 kilos of muscles in 1 year, that is only 96 grams a week, right? 96 grams of muscles a week. So if you're gaining like 1 pound a week, which is around 500 grams, then really most of what you're gaining is literally.
Yeah, exercise-induced muscle damage training, it is not uncommon to build 1 pound of contractile proteins per week. You can do that if protein synthesis exceeds protein breakdown and you're consistently anabolic and you keep doing it the following week and the following week and the following week until whatever weight you feel comfortable getting at, or whenever it ceases, because sometimes it becomes very difficult at some point. I can tell you that from experience.
Really just fat. And tracking your body weight on a weekly basis, that's really just not a very good metric at all, right? You should be tracking your actual progressions in the exercise as well, since the amount of muscle you gain on the daily or weekly basis is just too small to actually measure. Okay. So yeah, you should be tracking your actual lifts. And again, right, as a baseline, if you are progressing in the lift after you've been doing it for a long enough time, where you're neurologically adapted to it, then you are gaining contractile proteins, right? So even if...
No, you're not. Just because you got good at lifting something, you got neurological adaptation, doesn't mean you're gaining contractile proteins. Man, did I just not show you the science? If protein synthesis does not outpace protein breakdown, there's not a reserve there. You're not building these contractile proteins. And you have to have a level of muscle injuries to the muscle fibers to build those contractile proteins, yeah. and to even donate their nuclei to that domain to support what? To support further muscle growth, like it says in Myonuclear domain size limit. Hypertrophy has reached the ceiling limit during hypertrophic process beyond where the satellite cell can donate any more extra nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. So what do you need to do to get it to donate these nuclei? Well, you need to activate the satellite cell. How do you activate it? Through muscle injuries. Man, do I need to bring the science up for that too as well, dude? Here. Let me see. So this is the myonuclear domain, right? Muscle cell can grow very large, but its size is limited by the number of nuclei it contains through the concept of a myonuclear domain. So we know that muscles are postmitotic. They don't grow like that. They hypertrophy, but you can't grow more muscle, myofibers. Okay, each nucleus can only control a certain volume of cytoplasm. So as to muscle cell grows, it needs to acquire more nuclei to maintain its functional size. Listen to the word functional size. If that cell was to get overly big, guess what? You lose functionality. You definitely don't want that. So yeah, that's myonuclear domain. So the cytoplasm of a muscle cell called sarcoplasm is a jelly-like substance rich in glycogen granules, globulin, and numerous mitochondria that powers muscle contraction. It also contains myofibrils, which are the contractile units made of proteins like actin and myosin. So you need to be careful, know the difference between these things, the myofibrils and the sarcoplasm, the reticulum. Yeah, what is this? What is cytoplasm? Well, that's the cell. It's made out of this jelly shit. It's made up of non-contractile proteins like organelles and things like that, whatever. It makes up the bulk of the volume of the cell, okay, itself. So yeah, so mitochondria, myoglobin, glycogen, enzymes, ions, and other molecules, and these organelles and stuff. It makes up that. It makes it up, okay? Anyways, let's go on to this one. Muscles acquire extra nuclei to support growth through what? Fusion of satellite cells. So how does it get it? Which are what? Stem cells located beneath the muscle's outer membrane. So that isn't muscle cells. These are stem cells. When a muscle is stimulated to exercise, these satellite cells are activated. Okay, but what is stimulating it to activate it? Well, let's find out. Oh, satellite cells are activated to donate nuclei by what? Muscle injury or exercise, which the exercise is the injury. Get it? Injury. You got to injure those fibers, which triggers signals from the surrounding environment and the muscle fibers themselves. The signal, including mitogens like insulin-like growth factor, cause the quiescence cells to exit their dormant state, proliferate, and fuse with existing or damaged muscle fibers. Okay. Yeah, man. So that's how it's activated and stuff, dude. Yeah. They tell them fuse to existing muscle fibers, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea, man. I don't know what else to say there on that.
You're losing weight right now, even if you're, losing body weight. If you are getting stronger at your lift, right, you're getting more reps, more weight, then that means you are building muscle, even if you are in a calorie deficit and losing body weight.
No, that doesn't mean you are building muscle. Absolutely not. He's fabricating that. There's no proof of that.
Even need to be in a calorie surplus to be losing. You don't even need to be in a calorie surplus to be building muscle, because let's say you are in a
You don't need to be in a calorie surplus. What you need to do is eat protein and outpace protein breakdown. You need to be in an anabolic growth state. That's what.
Right? You're in a calorie deficit.
Again, you don't need to be in a calorie deficit. You need to be in an anabolic growth state.
Your body will just get the energy you need for protein synthesis in your basal metabolic rate. You'll just get it from your body fat, right? That's where you're going to get it, right? It's actually super...
No, it won't actually. It will not do that. It will not. He's wrong. It will not do that at all. It will not get it from your fat.
Possible to build muscle and lose body fat at the same time. And the reason that a lot of people see strength gains whilst they're bulking, it's not from the actual, extra calories and fat gain itself, right? The extra calories do not build more muscle. The extra fat do not make you inherently stronger. Excuse me. It's simply that when you're bulking and you're eating more calories, you tend to eat a lot more carbs. And when you eat a lot more carbs, your body and your muscles naturally have much higher glycogen stores, which will increase your motor unit recruitment in the gym. But
It will increase your motor unit in the gym because you increase the glycogen stores in your muscles. Man, that made absolutely no sense, but okay. No, it doesn't actually. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy has nothing to do with strength. It's the contractile proteins that give you strength because the motor units have to have somewhere to proliferate and these androgen receptors.
if you're watching my channel, right, I assume like most people watching my channel, you're either on some kind of animal-based or like raw primal goatus diet. So we're not going to be consuming that much carbs in the first place. But
Yeah, carbs, they're not complex. You'll spike insulin. You're eating carbs. You need complex carbs, okay.
yeah, just make sure you're progressing and don't worry too much about gaining a specific amount of body weight. You can be like around the same body weight actually, because again the muscle gain rate is like so slow. But as long
Contractile protein muscle growth is a little bit slow in the beginning, but then it takes off. And then there's some sarcoplasmic growth too. It depends if you're eating complex carbs.
as you're progressing in your lifts, you're doing something right. And a quick note on
Not necessarily. You could be progressing in your lifts and not gaining. A lot of people have that problem in the gym. Look around.
diet and workouts, right? You should be consuming a little bit of carbs before your workout, right? 30 to 50 grams fruit or raw honey before training, because that's going to
You should. You don't have to. You can eat animal fat.
increase motor unit recruitment and be better
Wait, that's gonna recruit motor unit? No, it's not. Your lifts recruit motor units.
for most people than having no carbs, which, because
Yeah.
unlike what face IQ might tell you, generally using carbs will improve your performance in the gym. And
It will improve your performance. I don't know. Gives you energy. Are you performing in a gym or are you lifting? I don't know. Yeah, you got the energy anyways. I don't know, man.
should be using a low volume science-based meta split, whether it's a low volume full body split, upper lower, torso and limbs, anterior posterior, full body every other day, or any other like meta science-based split like that, and doing low volume, right?
Muscles have to be primed or prepped to get damaged again. They can't get damaged with a repeated bout because the repeated bout effect phenomenon doesn't allow muscles to get micro-torn with a repeated bout. So you have to wait until the muscles are repaired and remodeled. And when they are, you can come back. They're prepped to get damaged again.
One set per exercise, one exercise per muscle, stuff like that. And yeah, if you found that helpful, you can go check out my private community. Link in the description. I talk about how to actually build a good physique where you don't actually look like a gym cell, how to actually use illusion strategies to look bigger, frame frauding strategies, height frauding strategies, how to build muscle without cortisol maxing and aging and stressing yourself, how to actually, improve your diet.
I do enough of that on my channel. How not to age yourself, stress yourself. Don't do any exercise. Don't eat peasant slave food diets. It's really simple. Do not exercise. Do not do peasant slave food diets. Relax. Do not stress yourself. More stress, more whatever. And be in a positive nitrogen balance because that will actually wear off the stress. You'll be regenerating faster than you're degenerating. Get it? Deteriorating. But if you're deteriorating faster than you're regenerating and you're not in your negative nitrogen balance or not nitrogen balance, whatever, you'll be deteriorating faster than you can regenerate. Yeah.
And all the science-based lifting stuff as well. So if you're interested in that.
Science-based lifting stuff. Okay, science is good. If you don't have experience, you can't really find the answers. This guy lacks experience. That's why when he's speaking, I can already know because I have experience, and it's like a mechanic. You have a mechanic that has like fucking 40 years of experience, and then you got this guy. He's like a newbie just starting out. It's not based on his experience. He's just telling you stuff, but it's not based on experience with science because they didn't see him prove anything that he said. See what I mean? He didn't prove anything. I did.
So I got the Discord community. Go check that out.
Yeah,
Link in the description. I'll see you.
I can prove even more stuff, but there's no point, man. You know, there's no point. Muscles, they need 7 to 10 days to repair the model. They're not gonna just fucking damage just like that, and they're not gonna grow just like that because he's in maintenance. Maintenance is gonna build muscle and all this kind of bullshit. Maybe sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, you can pump your muscles. The sarcoplasmic, if he's talking about sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, maybe, but not contractile proteins. That's for sure, man. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Don't you think about that? Like, subscribe, support the channel. I'll see you in the next one. I hope that helped. It was an interesting video. I don't know.
Next video.
Yeah.
So let's talk.
I'll see you in the next one. Yeah. Did he go over this again? Yeah. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, friends.